Welcome to Conversations with Laurel, everyone. I am your host, Laurel McHargue, and I have a very special guest with me today, Kristen Moeller. Welcome to my show.
Thank you, Laurel. Thank you so much for having me here. It's good to see you and be with you.
I know I haven't seen you in a while because we're both
I
in the Central
know.
Colorado Writers Group, and we're gonna have an in-person meeting next Tuesday, by the way,
Ooh,
if you've
wow.
heard of it, at
Okay.
Benjamin's Bookshop downtown in Salida.
Oh,
Anyway, we'll get to that. What we're going to talk about
okay.
today is a book you co-authored and co-edited, Phoenix Rising, and the subtitle, of course, is Stories of Remarkable Women Walking Through Fire. And on the back, you read, How do you go on after you've lost everything? I have goosebumps already. I contacted you about Phoenix Rising in light of the ongoing and devastating fires, not only in Colorado and Utah, but oh my gosh, from there are like 48 large fires right now from Alaska to Florida. I went online yesterday to look up what's happening. What's happening with this planet, Kristen?
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
hard to be with.
Mother Nature is trying to shake us off, I think.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah. So,
understandable, I think.
uh, I know. So, tell us why, and you wrote this a while ago. Tell us why you joined co-author Leslie Alpin Wharton to compile this collection.
Well, so Leslie and I met through a mutual friend, and we had actually, I think we must have both mentioned, we both had lost our homes in Colorado fires. She was in Fort Collins, I was in the Conifer area, and we both must have been talking to this mutual friend about our idea to put a book together with bringing women together who had been impacted by Colorado wildfires. And not all of the 21 lost homes, but a good portion did. And then there were women who just had watched their neighbors lose their homes. So there was survivor's guilt. We have a firefighter. We had I think a therapist in there. So we both had a similar idea, and this mutual friend, put us together, and we thought, okay, we really need to do something with this. And so we started gathering these stories, and
And
just out of, yeah.
how did you find the other women who had lost homes
Um,
or
you
lost
know,
everything?
yeah, we both had some contacts, and so we kind of put out the word through social media, through our various channels. And we found people that way. So we took some kind of applications, for lack of a better word. I think we were able to really include most everybody we received. It's been a little while. But we had everyone from, so a young woman who I think she was 17 at the
Yeah.
time, who was,
Yeah.
had never really written before, to a professional writer, and everyone in between. So it was this amazing group of women that came together to contribute.
Yeah, and you did it because why? To what end?
Well, both of us had been through it and knew how lonely it was. And even though obviously the number is increasing year by year of how many people are impacted, it still was relatively uncommon. Colorado, I think, has been fortunate. We haven't had the super fires that California has had, or some other places, although the summer is challenging that notion.
Mhm.
Um, but just that loneliness of going through something like this, and there not being a lot of books out there about when you lose things. There's
Yeah.
definitely a lot out there about losing a person and
Yeah.
losing a spouse, a child, which, child is the worst of all, but losing a pet, there are things like that, but there just wasn't, neither of us found good resources for losing a home, losing stuff. So we felt like we wanted people to understand, it's for people who've been through it, but it's also for people who want to support others, or we really want, because both of us, I think I'm sure it's in there, and in various stories of the types of responses you get, like,
Yes,
well, you
yes,
had insurance, didn't you?
uh, uh,
And just the kind of, well, it was just a thing, it's not a person. And yeah. So
yeah,
really
yes.
wanting there to normalize what it's like.
And what is normal? Normal is
Yeah,
something different for everyone, right? I mean,
right.
so
Exactly.
these are stories of homes and people and things lost in the 2010 Four Mile Fire, the 2011 Crystal Mountain Fire, 2012
Hmm.
Lower North Fork Fire, 2012 High Park Fire, 2012 Waldo Canyon Fire, 2013 Black Forest Fire. So many fires, and we, also personally know people involved in some of that. There are so many thought-provoking scenarios in here and stories in here. So let me ask you, and this has been a while, right, for you,
Hmm.
since you lost
2012.
everything.
Hmm.
Um, how did that experience change you?
Well, it's funny. I had a friend who's no longer a friend, but at the time, um, suggested that it would be, I could learn about non-attachment. And that's just something you just don't want to suggest for another person. It just doesn't go over that well.
Tell us what he said.
Um, well, it was
What?
a she, and
Oh,
just said, this would be a good opportunity to practice non-attachment. And I wrote after the fire, I blogged for a year after, and I wrote, I mean, just every day it was just pouring out of me, this just gritty, raw, just commentary, feelings, confusion, heaviness, all of that. And I wrote a post called Holy Non-Attachment, which is, just like, I kind of really was saying, that's just, I'm someone who attaches, and I get, we won't go into Buddhist discussions, but I know there's value, and I understand it, and I understand that everything changes, and we're going to lose everything we have anyway. I understand all of that, but I was very attached to my home.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a house. It was a very it was a unique mountain property. It was a little house just with my husband had he was kind of in between jobs, and we had sold a piece of land, and he put, you know, blood, sweat, and tears into
Yeah.
that house, like literally, handcrafted doors, and a friend made us a stained glass that went in one of the
Mm.
doors, and then an antique stained glass that another friend gave us, and beetle kill pine trim, and things we just did ourselves. And we had gone through a pregnancy loss right before, and it was kind of the we're choosing this house as this house that was not going to be a house for children. We're kind of
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
this is our baby. And so we
Yeah.
poured a lot of, and I think houses have souls, and
Oh
this
man.
house had a soul, and I'm a believer in that kind of thing. And so it wasn't just the stuff. It wasn't just the stuff that can't be replaced. Like, I think I probably write in there Mrs. Vogler's stool, that was, I had a babysitter when my brother and I were young, and my parents had divorced, and there was a babysitter, and she made us both these matching, they were covered in like a plush velvet kind of, and they were made with these big Alpo dog cans that were, and so she had the dog cans went around like that, and then she had quilted
Oh,
over the top and bottom, and then covered it in this crushed velvet. And then it had this little yellow like tassel around it. And I carried that stool. I mean, I think I might be about to cry right now. I had
oh.
that stool where I carried it with me everywhere I went. It's like,
Yeah.
you can't put a price tag on that. My
No.
my wedding dress, that I had saved. I mean, I'd rather have Mrs. Vogler's stool over my wedding dress, but still the things that you can't insurance can't touch
No.
that stuff.
No.
So, yeah.
Uh, yeah. The whole uh, minimalist trend, which
Hmm.
is going on now. It's fine if you choose to do that,
It's fine
right?
if you choose to do it, to have it be forced, right? And
Yeah.
so I think that as far as, attaching to stuff, it's not, I mean, stuff is stuff, and but some things really carry a lot more than stuff. So I think as far as how it changed me, it didn't change me in that way of, non-attachment, but it no, I mean, I've always been someone who's been able to access compassion because I've been through a lot of things in my life, but it's just like, okay, here's a whole new level of compassion for an understanding for what it's like. And, some people seem to kind of roll through. I've heard reports of people rolling through losing everything relatively unscathed, but I think for most people it's going to mess with you. And then
Yeah.
and then fire season
Yeah.
becomes a thing, and that place where we were it was on almost 40 acres near Conifer. It was off the grid, um, down this what kind of like way off of 285 and then down this long dirt road. And we loved all of that. It was
And you
just, we
and you
loved,
and you did everything right, right? You mitigated the property,
we did,
you
we
had
did.
fireproof
We,
everything.
Well,
Yeah.
ironically, yeah, we had a Colorado State Forest Service mitigation
Yeah.
plan that we executed and had the some grant money, but then pay. I think it was like a matching grant, and we had it all. Yep, yep, you're mitigated. You're well mitigated, and that was the Colorado State Forest Service controlled burn that. Yeah, so but then we moved away from there, and we finally again found a beautiful piece of property out in the woods. But last year we sold it because honestly, I just,
Fear.
my nervous system, yeah, just like, okay, I can't, I love this place so much. We really found heaven again. We really found a beautiful mountain
Mm.
property, and I just couldn't do it every year. And I feel so relieved to not be there this year, how bad it is this year. Um, so
Oh, that hurts.
yeah.
You talk about your spirituality, which you have.
Hmm.
There are stories in here of, this would make some people question their faith, right? And one story really stuck with me about, and this woman was really angry because why would her neighbor say, "Oh, God saved our property. It was a miracle. Why did he take mine?"
Yeah.
Right next door.
Hmm.
How do you deal with something like that? I mean, what do you say to someone like that?
I know that's there's a term for that inquiry. I was just looking at it because I'm in long time 12-step programs, and there's a phrase in there that people say a lot, which is there, but for the grace of God go I. And I've just always had such a problem with that because I just don't think my God is not the one that's going to pick my house over someone else's. It's going to
Yeah.
pick my blessings over,
Yeah.
my neighbor who has a child with leukemia. It's
Yeah.
not, I don't believe in that. But I understand how it messed with my faith too. I didn't have, I mean, I had a spiritual is what my path, not religious. And, but it definitely messed with things. I didn't ask, I'm not a why me
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
But I, I wasn't happy, I wasn't happy about how that went. I mean, it was just such a wounding, such a thing
Yeah.
to recover from because they're all the layers of it. I mean, there's the emotional and psychological and spiritual, and then there's the physical, and then there's the practical. I mean, there's the insurance, having to document everything you've lost. And some people, we were blessed to have good insurance, but we were underinsured. So we didn't know. We had worked with a new financial planner, and he said, "Oh, it looks like you're overinsured. You should talk to my guy and your homeowner's
Oh,
insurance." And, anybody that lives in the mountains, if you don't have cookie cutter houses, it's really, they're all over the place in value. But because of, it was a small house, but it had, lots of higher end. We had granite counters and all this hand done, custom done stuff that my husband had done. I mean, how do barnwood, collected barnwood
yeah.
handmade
Yeah.
doors.
Yeah.
And so
How do you
we
price
were,
that? How do you
yeah, you don't. And
evaluate
so
that?
we lost a lot of money in being underinsured. And then, but thankfully, I always say when I talk about this, go check your insurance, see what your insurance says, because do you have replacement value? There's, we had that cost plus 25%, so they can give you insure a certain amount, but then you get insured 25% over. But then it depends on how the policies differ and how they count your items in your home, and how they deal with how, if you have to actually, so some people had to actually buy all the replacement right away, or they would leave money on the table. So can you imagine, you lose everything, you have no
Oh,
place, and they had to buy everything to replace at that point. Whereas we had where we could document, and then I think we got a check. So I think that's how it was. So there are different types of how they view replacement.
right. And I was reading in one of the stories talking about documenting what you
Mm-hmm.
have, and this is
Mm-hmm.
something that I think we all might want to consider. I mean, here I am. I'm looking at my rummy cube game on the table there, right? That's something that costs money. The the
Right.
the balance ball I'm
Totally.
sitting on right now. This
Yeah.
costs money. My globe behind me costs money.
Right.
Everything I look at, and I'm thinking, how in the world could I document everything I'm looking at?
Yeah.
How could I evaluate
I
everything I'm
know.
looking at?
And there's just no way. I mean, there are companies, and we have not done this since we've been in this house. And just because we live in town doesn't mean we shouldn't do this, and we just
Yeah,
haven't. And I preach it, I say,
yeah.
but really, at the very least, go room to room with a video camera. And, you know,
Yeah.
do at the very least do a kind of, so you can see, because there are still things. I remembered something the other day that we didn't, I think it was I was looking at a picture. I was like, oh, we had an outdoor table with an umbrella. That wasn't on my itemized list, so you're going to forget things. And I mean, no matter what, you're going to lose money in a fire. You're just going to, it's a hardship on all levels. And then, of course, Colorado, what's happening in Colorado what's already happened in California, insurance companies pulling out, people being dropped, and that was part of the reason for us too, of it's like, okay, because then property values are impacted. So you get higher insurance,
Yeah,
but your
yeah.
property values are going to decline, which is happening on the Front Range more in the mountain communities because you can't get insurance. The insurance is higher. And yeah, so it's tricky, but I understand why people want to live in the woods, in the mountains. I
Oh,
absolutely
yes.
do,
Yeah.
but
Oh, I know.
not for me again.
Oh, so you had how much time? How much time did you have of warning before you had to
Well,
leave?
warning, quote unquote, that was
Yeah.
another thing with our fire. It was a breakdown on all levels. So not only was it a controlled burn, and not all
Yeah.
fires are like this, but controlled burn. The state of Colorado didn't monitor it properly when they were on the putting it out side of things. And so by the time, where the houses were was a different fire district from where the fire was. So
Oh
they
boy.
had sent, yeah. So I guess with the controlled burn, you're supposed to monitor for a certain amount of days after you put it out, and they skipped the final day. And then we had the high wind warnings, extreme temperatures. It had been dry. It was March 26th of 2012. So I think one of the driest March is on record. And um, so first there, the reverse 911 system broke down too.
Oh,
So people were getting in weird random places getting calls. So none of us in this area were getting calls. We were neighbors calling each other, and there was, I think it still exists in the Conifer area. It's called Pine Cam, and it's a online community forum, and they have some cameras in places. But there was one guy who was posting about the fire because we just thought, oh, it's the controlled burn, it's
yeah.
just kind of
Yeah.
hasn't completely gone
It's
out. Well, which
it's
is
it's
what it
controlled.
was, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's controlled, but they have it under control. Of course they do.
Yeah.
And so first it was just a little kind of plume of white smoke, and this guy was following it and he was posting about it. And nobody else was talking about it. And I messaged him directly and I said, what should I look out for? And he said, as long as it's white smoke, it's in the grass. But if it goes black or brown, that means it's gone to the trees.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to travel. Then I can't remember if now if it was that day or the next day. And I had a friend over who was helping me I had house sitters coming in. I think it was that day I was going to travel. We had house sitters coming in, and my husband was already away on business, and I was leaving on business, and she was just helping me get ready. She was doing some cleaning for me and, get ready. And she had been through a house fire.
Oh
And
boy.
she said, I think we should pack some things up. And I said, I don't want to. I'm sure it's fine.
Oh.
It's just, and then a little bit later, she said, I'm going to start putting some things in bags. And she's why I still have some framed photographs from going way back. Because people don't realize, today's youth, that we didn't have photos, but we
Yeah.
didn't have digital
Yeah.
photos.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a whole section of my life of photos I do not have because they're all burned up. But
Yeah.
she had to put some framed pictures in, and finally, then we saw it go. We saw the cloud turn from the white smoke to black, brown, roiling cloud. And Jolene said, we need to go. And I had called a friend to come and take down a tree that was the one we had kept one tree off our deck, but we had thinned around it.
Yeah.
So I said, can you come? I think we should take this tree. And he got there and he said, we're not taking the tree. We're just getting out of here. And
Oh.
so it was
So from the
dog.
time you first
I honestly
saw the
don't know it.
smoke
Well,
to
from the time I first saw the smoke to leaving was, maybe 4 hours, but from the time it was coming up the hill to it consumed my house, when I was leaving to when it consumed my house was under half an hour.
oh
Yeah. And as you know from that fire, I mean, as far as fires go, it was a smaller fire, I think 7,000 acres, 21 homes, but 3 people died.
yeah.
So for that small of a fire to have that many deaths is, and it was one way in, one way out.
Mm.
And the reason they died is because they were told, well, they weren't told anything. And one of the women who died, she was by herself. Her husband was traveling, and she called and she said, not to worry, crews are on the scene. And
Oh
she
boy.
couldn't, from where I was, I could see it coming, but it was like an L shape. So the
Yeah.
road continued down the main road, and I was off the main road, and I could see it coming, and she could not see it coming. I know.
Uh, so you had to assess very quickly, as most of the women in the book, had to. Those who were home at the time, because there's
Mhm.
some stories of people who weren't even there, weren't even able to have 20 minutes to pack stuff
Mhm.
up. You had to assess not only what to take, but what to leave behind, right?
Right. Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah. There's the, and we didn't have the list. We didn't have the list of that they say to have,
they
have your
say.
go, they say, have your go bag, we didn't have that. And, I was the one thing I really remember, I was packed for this trip. So I had those clothes and I called my husband and I said, what do you want me to get? And so he had a couple things. Um, and a couple things that I just instinctively knew to get. I mean, the things like he had an army jacket. He wasn't in the army, but he had it since he was in college. And it
Yeah.
was just, I knew how much he loved it. And I grabbed that. And I thought I grabbed both of his slippers, but I think I just grabbed one of his slippers. And
Oh.
I have a stuffed leopard that is my favorite stuffed animal that now goes almost everywhere with me,
Oh.
that I grabbed, and our wedding album. And but I first, it was back in the day, huge computer monitor, one of the
Yeah.
big
Yeah. Yeah.
boxes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, for some reason, of course, I'm grabbing
Because
the
everything's in there.
laptops.
Everything's in there.
Right, everything's in there. I know it's in there. And I just was not thinking. And I was trying to, it was big and bulky. And I was trying to get out of my office with it. And I kept hitting the wall with it. And I just finally put it down. I thought, okay. I mean, obviously, first it was dogs and cat. We had two dogs and cat and their food and all of that. Get that in the car, and then get them in the car. And then, I mean, I had a Toyota 4Runner, and that was
Those are
that
good,
was yeah,
good
that was
vehicles.
what fit in my Toyota 4Runner is what went with the dogs and the cat.
Did your husband believe that your place was really in danger? I mean, what was his response when
He
you
was
called him?
he was feeling so completely helpless and
Yeah,
just so, and but neither of us believed it was really going to happen. It wasn't until I think that I can't remember what happened first. Oh, yeah, what happened first was I went with he was in Seattle in business and trying to get home, and he was just completely in shock. And a friend went on a drive with me, and we drove down because you can kind of go down near where the fire started, but on the other side down. I'm forgetting the road right now, but I think it's not Richmond Hill. It's anyway down there, and you can go down towards the river, and then you can look back up. And we went there, and I swore I saw my house. So I
ugh,
thought, it's still there. It's still there. And then when they started, I think it was the next day that they had at the fire station, they had the kind of, you know, the where everybody would go, and then they called us in and said your house is gone, and I couldn't believe it because I thought I saw it. I know I saw it, but I didn't see it. So yeah, and we had seen on TV our neighbor's house that it was gone, and
yeah.
his big barn, we could recognize that his had a big barn that was still standing, but and everything burned on ours, except for we had a Chevy, I think it was like a 70 something Chevy Blazer, and it survived, but nothing else did. We had two sheds and David, one was his workshop with all his tools and woodworking, and then our house, of course.
Talk about survivor's guilt. There was a story in there about that.
Yeah,
That's a complex
I
emotion.
know.
It's got to be.
Yeah, I think that the women who wrote about that were, just watching this devastation all around them, yet had been spared. And, that feeling of, how do you kind of go on, and how do you enjoy, and how do you, was a constant reminder all around. And there's so much suffering all around, and things have been changed forever. And yet here you are, and somehow your house is there, your trees are there, um, and just the constant view of the devastation. I wonder, and I don't know, that I don't know the answer to this, but I wonder how many people end up moving away after that kind of thing,
Right.
just not being able to, the reminder,
Yeah.
it happened. I was laid off in 98, and I was working in a eating disorder treatment center as a therapist, and we were part of a complex of other units, and we knew the hospital was selling, and that, but what we thought is we were going to continue on, and we were going to go be part of this other system. So that's what we were told. So everybody around us, people who'd been there forever, were being laid off, and slowly units were closing, and the morale was terrible,
Mm.
just terrible. People were so upset, and there really wasn't anything like where we worked. So it was very devastating for the people impacted. And our unit had survivor's guilt because we're watching all this
Ah,
devastation, yet we were having this, oh, we're going to go to a brand new center. And then we got laid off at the end. And it was like, oh, it was so incredibly brutal. So having kind of experienced, that in a layoff, I can get some of the survivor's guilt. And I think, so many of us, anybody who has compassion and empathy, you
yeah.
see destruction happening, and we can say, oh, I think I don't like the there, but for the grace of God go I, but there, but for the chance of circumstances, there go
Right.
I. I mean, I think
Right.
that's the thing to really take away is that, so often I mean, I don't know anybody my age now who thinks they're untouchable, but, for a certain period of life, there's kind of that it won't happen to me. And then, but devastation happens left and right on either side. I feel like it's kind
Yeah.
of life is a contact sport. And,
Yeah.
when we're in and it's also, the hurricane, I know that we're in when it's calm, it's the eye of the hurricane, but,
Yeah.
life is gonna life. And I think
Right.
it's a, good way to live, but it also can cause some trauma, of just that, when is the other shoe going to drop? And
Right.
that is
Right.
definitely something that impacted me.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see why. And again, people who are more lucky, I don't know. I mean, people who survive, um, your friends, you, they want to say something comforting, but oftentimes what they are going to say is so trite, right? Even the idea of the phoenix rising, right, is trite. This
I
story,
did get the
the first
Phoenix
story.
tattoo though.
Oh, did you? Okay,
I did.
beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yes.
Trite but true, right?
Yes,
And
but yes,
you're not
don't put it on
necessarily
someone.
right. You don't necessarily want to hear those trite remarks. Thank God you're
Hmm.
alive. At least you're
Yeah,
alive.
at least.
It's just stuff. The
Yeah.
comment one of your friends made that it must be freeing to
Oh my
to,
gosh,
to
that
not
was just,
to
yeah.
not have all that stuff to worry
No,
about anymore.
actually, no, it's not.
So,
I know.
what can people say?
Well, don't start sentences with at least. That is lesson number one. Don't start sentences with at
At
least.
least.
There's a wonderful book by Megan Devine called It's Okay That You're Not Okay. And it's about she lost her partner in a freak kind of flash flood situation. And she's a psychotherapist, and she wrote this book about grief and how we are in our culture about grief, which is not very good. And
Yeah.
how it is, I think it should be required reading for everyone because it just really takes that, it delves into those kind of things of just what not to say, what to say. But I think it's just really getting, just trying to get it versus fix it, and that's, of course, we struggle with, we don't want people to suffer and
Yeah.
be sad. And so you want to say something that's going to, but it also is just us dealing with our own discomfort. So like we have to learn to deal with our own discomfort around when people are in agony and don't rush to try to make it better. Instead, just try to be with someone and sit with someone and read something like that, which I haven't found another book, honestly, like that. I think that is just, again, it's what did I say it is? It's okay that
It's
you're not
okay that
okay.
you're not okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Megan
I'll
Devine.
I'll
Yeah,
I'll
it's
have a
just,
link to that
it's
below.
such a
And
brilliant, brilliant book.
yeah, I remember reading
So,
when bad things happen to good people.
hmm,
Might have
yeah,
some similar
yeah.
ideas,
And
but
just the just her title, to know it's okay that you're not okay. I think I lost a dear friend this spring, and so I've been thinking a lot again about grief. It just, grief seems to be a big thread through my life, and loss, and just that, how we are around it, and how, oh, they're in a better place, and like it doesn't, if that works for you, that's wonderful, but don't lay it on other people. And then
yeah,
allow the messiness, allow messy humanity, and allow people to be undone, and allow it to be okay that you're not okay.
yeah,
I mean, I think giving ourselves permission, and then finding people who can stand with us in that. There's another book about grief called, I think hmm, it's got a little bit of a complicated title, and I think I always, but it's Martine Pechtel, The Smell of Rain on Dust, or something like that.
okay,
And he writes about, I think it's Central America, native Central America, tribe that talks about how they grieve and they do this kind of group grieving, and how
Yes.
when someone passes, they they travel through the village with this person and they're all wailing and moaning and expressing agony, and they they people join as they're going through, or they just watch them go by, and it's like, yeah, we're honoring reality. We're honoring
Yes. Yeah.
pain. And
Grief
so
is
I think,
real. Grief is, and to be able to grieve loudly and
yes,
without
grieve loudly.
shame or
Totally.
embarrassment.
Yeah.
I'll never forget when my Nana died. I was 10, and I remember hating the priest and knowing because I hated the priest, I was going straight to hell because,
Right.
he told me, to be happy because now she was in a better place kind of thing. And I'm like, how could
Right.
he say that about my Nana? And I wailed and
Good for you. Did you get did you get shut down, or were you allowed to wail?
Well, I think I was allowed to wail, but I mean, again, the priest telling me to stop it, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
one of the stories in here, the woman says, and I wrote this line down, how can they laugh when I'm broken inside?
Mm.
The
Yeah.
idea of that natural emotion of that we're faced with
Hmm.
when we lose someone, right? How does the world keep going on?
Right.
Why can't everyone see that I am in agony, that I
Hmm.
have just lost, in your case, everything.
I
Um,
know.
so many people having lost everything, and how can other people still laugh and smile and be happy
Right.
and not experience this? It's not fair. Like it's not fair.
It's brutal. It's definitely brutal to feel like you're alone and watch the world go on. And people describe that. I like that at least we're talking about it. I think they were talking about it more. I'm finding more articles about. I mean, I had my friend who died. Her husband is blogging. A dear friend of mine, Darcy Myers, who's a poet. She wrote a beautiful book about losing poetry about losing her spouse, Robert, and really being able to just go into it and express it and express the agony of it. And so I feel like I'm seeing more of that, where people are at least saying, know, expressing the agony, and then more people are reading it and more people are saying it. So I think that's, maybe we're moving in the direction. I have some friends. I said, I'm going to, at my funeral, I'm going to have like, here's the program, and this period will be for wailing, because there needs to be wailing, like they're just.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then and one of my dear friends, she was saying she and her best friend did that, kind of made their song list. And I said, well, Suzanne, I need to have, I don't want it just to be fun, and I need to have wailing time built in, because I'm going to wail for you. I said, okay, we'll build in wailing time, because you want people you love to be happy. Even when you think about your own death, you want people you love to be happy. And then, I think that wail time should be
Yeah.
built into every. Would you like to do it right now? Oh,
Ah, yeah. Yeah.
oh, I'm hugging you across the.
Uh, yeah. It's really hard.
Mhm.
Uh, so you have moved forward in many big ways. Um, some people never will, right? I mean, some people will experience PTSD. You may as well.
I do.
I'm sure. You smell smoke somewhere. I'm sure it's got to do something
Totally.
to your DNA has changed. You have,
Hmm.
you know, every cell in your body, I'm sure, has changed in some way because of this. Well,
Yeah. And I think it's, rather than moving away, it's moving deeper, or rather than moving on, it's moving deeper into there's the layers of the onion analogy that people use in the personal growth world and the recovery world of. So I think I moved to deeper layers of my onion.
Well, you write other things too.
I
You want to talk
do.
about some of your other books?
Sure, Laurel. I want to talk about what's in your heart, but
Oh, tell me
no.
about some of your other
Okay.
books.
All right. Um, I well, honestly, that book was my most recent book. I am working on a memoir that I've been working on since 2016, and it really is about kind of layers of the onion of um, walking through the fires of life, walking through the fires of life and finding wisdom and beauty still, even though there are a lot of fires in life, just finding the beauty. Um, so I've written two books. It was really one book that then became another book. It was my first book was called Waiting for Jack, about why we wait instead of. It was at a time I was very energetic. Why do we wait instead of go for it? I mean, and then I wrote What Are You Waiting For, which was it was a publisher picked up that book basically and said, we want this book, we want you to do a rewrite and kind of update. And it was interesting though, because they wanted it to be more self-helpy of what are you waiting for? But then my house burned down. And then I said to my publisher, I said, can't I there isn't a book about someone writing about losing their house. Can't I write this book? And she said, no, this is what she said. She said, that will be, how did she say it? Like that, it's just going to be a brief period of time and you'll be past that.
Oh
I
my
thought, oh
gosh.
my gosh, I don't know if she would say that today. I'm not sure
Yeah.
she would say that today. Um, but I managed to fit in a lot of, and what are you waiting for? A lot of this, what I'd been blogging about. I just plugged it in. So it does have a lot of kind of, my books are not, some of my negative reviews have been, you know, there's not a clear path towards stopping waiting, but she's writing, what are you waiting for? It's like, well, yeah, there's not a clear path. That's kind of what I'm writing about. There are no 5 easy steps to
Yeah.
never wait again. So I think I write a lot of memoir meets self-help type stuff. And, but what I care about now writing about is really just walking through other things I've walked through and showing other people that you can keep walking. I mean, I think we limp. There's a there's a phrase in 12 step in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It says we trudge the road to happy destiny. And I think trudge is such a
Trudge.
good word.
Trudge
Trudge,
is a great word.
it's not skipping. We're not
Right.
skipping.
Right.
We're trudging along. We're trudging
Yeah.
along, and we got to find each other,
Yeah.
and know that we're not out there by ourselves. And thus the Phoenix Rising book,
Yeah.
really, I really would love to get it in more hands. I mean, so many people are impacted. How do we get it in more hands?
Yes.
You know, I'd give it away if I could, I mean, it's just, I think, and women coming together, as you know, women
Yeah.
coming together is just a powerful medicine.
And part of the
So
proceeds of this book go toward Habitat for Humanity, right?
yeah, that's actually through the publisher. So that is
Yeah.
an amazing thing. I mean, that
Yeah.
publisher, Morgan James Publishing, who I still work with today, who I love, 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 they do that. Yeah.
So people
So
get this. Get several copies of this and so do you have any advice? And again, I've listened to your TED Talk and I'll have a link to that below as well. There's not just one answer. There's not
no,
one takeaway from
no,
this.
no.
But
For so long I sought the one answer. I've been
yeah.
looking, people. I've been looking for you. I've been looking and looking and looking for the one answer and waiting to find it myself. And I think the one answer is self-compassion. I think that's the one answer. If we can start with having compassion for ourselves, then we can have compassion for other people and it can spread out from there. So I think that's the one answer if there is one. But
Yeah. Uh,
yeah.
I'm feeling it big time for you
Hmm.
and we need to meet somewhere soon so I can hug you.
Yes, I'd like that. I'd like that.
Do you have any other advice to people who might still believe that nothing like this could ever happen to them?
Hmm. Well, I can say I hope it doesn't. That's what I
Yeah.
really hope. I hope that you can walk through life being unscathed, but life scathes.
Life scathes.
Life will scathe in one way or another. And again, I think it's having people around you, having people you can be real with, really real with, and fall apart with. Get the book get my book, of course, Phoenix Rising, but get the book. We'll get the It's okay you're not okay too,
Yeah.
to show yourself it's okay that you're not okay, because there will be
Yeah.
things in life that will take us to our knees and they'll continue. I don't think I'm through it. And that's the thing. Like I think that's what happened. I just turned 60 this year. And I think it's finally, I understand without living like I've got to live in a bomb shelter and stay underneath my desk the whole time.
Yeah.
It is knowing that it's going to continue to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to, I mean, and we're so, we got to just find the joy, but not sugarcoat and not, not that's the word I'm looking for right now. I can't think of it, but not be Pollyanna, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but still see the beauty, but see the beauty in the, I chose that. We voted on the cover photo, and I had done that photo series, and that was
That's
the whole. I'd
beautiful.
seen this beautiful image of a woman in captured in California, and this beautiful model in a ball gown in the middle of a burnt out forest, and it was just this kind of a profound image for me. And so I had done this photo shoot, and then we decided it would be the cover of that book. It's kind of, I'm turned away a little bit so it doesn't just look like me,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
to represent all the women where we're still showing up. We got some ash on our arms. We're showing up. We're embattled, but we're there, and we can still, the thing about that land, those pines will never, I mean, in our lifetime, they won't
Yeah.
return, but the aspens, we had a little aspen forest before the
Oh.
fire,
Yeah.
and those aspens came back with a vengeance.
Oh.
The forest had quadrupled in size, and when they were first coming up, we thought they were weeds, and we didn't, of course,
Oh.
pull them. We were like,
Yeah.
welcome
Yeah.
any
Yeah.
greenery.
Yeah.
We didn't really know what they were. And then, there was just this forest that came from it. So
Things do rise.
things do rise, Phoenix do rise.
Yeah. Yeah. They do.
Again and again.
Listeners out there, the author, the co-author, Kristen Moeller, with Leslie Alpin Wharton, the book Phoenix Rising. Get it, share it. There are stories in here that will really make you think about how you're living today. It'll make you think about what to say to friends and neighbors who might be going through some of their own tragedies. Um, it might help prepare you for some of your own. Um, Kristen, thank you so much. People give us a thumbs up
Mm,
and subscribe to my channel. I'll have links below to the book, to the books you mentioned, and to you. Please
mm.
follow Kristen. And any final words?
Thank you so much, Laurel. Thank you for caring so much. And just, I'm sending big love to the people who are going through it right now,
Yeah.
and to our very, very brave first responders who,
Yes.
tragically, we've lost
Yeah.
people doing that, and people
Yeah.
that, will show up to do that job where they are risking their lives.
Yeah.
And then when it's frickin' human cause, like I just can't even, when I can't
That's a
even
whole
just
other. Yeah.
stay on top. There was someone who wrote in our local paper about, or maybe it was a post on the local, anyway, on Facebook or something, but they were just like, I am going to be the eyes out there. We all have to be the eyes now.
Yeah.
We have to watch, because there are people who don't care or
Yeah.
ignorant. And then there are people who are malicious and
Yeah.
do horrible things like start fires.
Yeah.
And so we got to be the eyes and ears. But
Yeah.
my love and prayers go out to all the people who are experiencing this right now, as we speak, right now,
Yeah.
and to, again, back to the first responders.
Yeah.
So, and
Thank you.
thank you
Thank
for
you again.
doing
I'll
this.
see you around town, Kristen.
Yes, look
Keep
forward
being
to it.
strong.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Laurel.
Bye.
Bye.